only question I had for that at that point in time, you had just gotten a job with Ameritech or Bell at the
Mr.
time.
Bell.
And was it, these days, enlisting in the service is a pretty big decision. I mean, back then, did you even think twice about it, or was it,
No, not really. Not really. Because the draft was going, and so, you had your choice, really. You could not do anything and just wait for the draft to catch up with you, or enlist. Right. And, I don't have any idea what the percentages were either way, but, a lot of the fellows that I knew were enlisting, and but this fellow came in and sat down with me and told me about the group at the county courthouse from the Army that were there running tests. And so he suggested we go. So okay, good. So we went over, and we were in the meeting room where the county supervisors met, I guess. And we had a double desk, as there were rows of them. And he sat on one side, I sat on the other. And they passed out tests. Now we got different tests. I think my row got all the same tests, and the row he was in probably got all their tests, and they were all different from the person sitting next to him. And so I went through and answered all the questions I could on it, and he was having problems, so we were sitting far enough back that we swapped pages, and I went through his and was able to answer some that he hadn't done, and gave them back. So then they collected all the papers and quickly graded them, and we both were accepted, as were most of the people. Most of the guys there were accepted. And then we were sworn in. We're in the Army. And then we had to pass a physical, which included an eye test. He's colorblind and didn't know it. So they throw away the enlistment paper that they've made out on you, because he's not in anything. He's just say goodbye to him and he's gone. And the rest of us are in now, and I really don't remember quite what happened after that, except that in a very short time, matter of a few days, I think, I got notified that to be down in Detroit at a particular time at the big railroad station down there. And when we got there, my folks took me down, and the train came in, and with a lot of us there, we all load in, and we're all going down to Miami Beach, where the preliminary training took place. That this applied to, I think, to probably anybody going into the Air Force at that time was subject to this same military training. And we were quartered in hotels that the Army had taken over from the private owners in Miami Beach. And I was assigned to a room in one of the hotels. I had one other fellow with me in that room. We all ate in a not a cafeteria, but a mess hall. It was actually the kitchen of the hotel, that when it had paying guests in there, this would have been the kitchen and then their dining room. And so we had mess people that were working in this dining room and preparing meals for us.
So they cleared out the whole hotel?
Oh yeah, the hotel. It's just all military. And there were a number of hotels down there that's what they did. And the only thing we really did was we were called out for exercise, PT, and some marching practice, drills.
What was the date again, approximately?
That would have been in November or December, probably,
42?
of 42.
Okay. And how long was basic training? I was trying to put together kind of a
Yeah.
timeline based off of.
Basic training, I think, was at the most 6 weeks, and I really can't remember that really.
Didn't want to remember that part.
No,
probably.
no, it went by in a hurry. But then, then we were divided up into some in groups, and in my case, the group that I was with, we were put on trains, on a train, and we went to Tampa, Florida, just up the road, really, from Miami Beach. Others went to places around the country, really. They went all over to schools. And I went to I think it was, probably was the University of Tampa. And when I got there, the Army had taken over the living quarters of students who normally would have been there in the resident halls. And I can't even remember how many there were in a room. Not maybe at least two, but I don't know if there are any more. And each between two rooms would be a common bath for those two rooms, and that's the way it was up and down the hall. And there we were divided up into groups. That the first group, let's call them the A group, were going to be there for 6 weeks. The B group was going to be there for 4 more weeks, and the C for 4 beyond that. And I think that it went down so that the last group would be there a total of 6 months. Well, I happened to be in the first group, so I was there the least time. And from there, my group went to San Antonio, Texas, where there was a center that the Air Corps, or Air Force rather, had set up for testing prospective aviators. And so I went through the physical there and tried as hard as I could to figure out how the eye tests were going, because I knew that was my problem. I didn't wear glasses then, but I knew that I had a problem with my left eye. And I learned quickly what kind of answers they were looking for. And so I really did what I could to squeeze into that. And finally, a major called me into his office and said that he was sorry, but I could not be a pilot nor a bombardier, but I could be a navigator. So I said, okay, fine, I'll take that. And so that's how I wound up in navigation school.
And that was in Houston?
No, I went to pre-flight school first in Houston, Texas, at Ellington Field. And at Ellington Field, it was a pre-flight for navigators, and it was a final school for multi-engine pilots. But everybody were students then. But the field had a whole flock of smaller twin-engine planes that the pilots did their studying in, and some of them were set up with 3 seats in the back for navigation training. And so that's where we did some flying there a little bit. But the thing that really we had that sticks in my mind the most about Ellington Field, 2 things. The mess hall there was the best one I ever found in the Army. It was so good that on Saturday we were off duty like at noon on Saturday, and did not have to be back until, I think, about the same time on Sunday. We would go into Houston on a Saturday afternoon and do whatever we wanted to do. But we'd come back out. We could catch the bus and come back out to the field for the evening meal on Saturday night because it was such a good meal. They always had such a great mess hall there that it was better to come back out there and eat dinner than it was to go to a restaurant in town and have to buy a meal. So many of us did that. We'd come back out to the field. And then after you ate, then you'd get on the bus and go back into town again, go to the show or whatever. That was one of the highlights of Ellington Field. The second one, though, was to be there when a hurricane came in off the Gulf. And I have never seen so much rain in my life as we got that day and night. We were all called out when this.
Let's pick it up right there because we just cut, and I don't want to miss the